Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the True North podcast. I'm your host, Benedict Rhodes. I've got another great episode for you today, as I'm joined by Canadian Paralympic champion runner Nate Riech. Over the next half an hour or so, we're going to dive into his incredibly successful career on the track, including his experiences at Tokyo 2020 and how he's preparing to try and defend his title in Paris next summer. We'll also discuss his family's incredible sporting history, his upbringing, and some of the work he's doing to make a difference for other people with traumatic brain injuries. All of that and more on this episode 11 of the True North podcast. Hope you enjoy this great discussion. I'm very excited now to be joined by the reigning Paralympic champion in the men's T38 1500-meter event. And I'm, of course, talking about the great Canadian middle distance runner, Nate Riech. Nate, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, and thanks for taking the time to join the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
First things first, have you got used to hearing that title yet? Being a Paralympic champion, it takes a lot of work, obviously, but I'm sure it never gets old hearing it.
Yeah, it always it always feels great hearing it, but I don't feel like you ever get used to it. I don't know, maybe other people feel a different way, but for me it just sounds like, wait, is that really me? Because it's just something, I dreamed about for so long.
We'll get more into Tokyo 2020 in a moment, but first of all, about a month ago, competed in Paris at the World Para Athletics Championships, gold medal again, 1500 meters. First of all, congratulations. But maybe just walk us through that competition and what that kind of week or so in Paris looked like.
Yeah, no, so we were in Spain a couple weeks before we end up heading to Paris, and honestly, things weren't going according to plan. Like I was hitting my workouts well, but I was getting some pretty bad tightness in my hamstring. I think just after getting off a plane with a coordination impairment, it just sometimes it just takes a while, and there's no actual like, oh, it takes X days to get recovered. So it just kind of you just play this little game. And then as I got closer and closer, it got feeling better. I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't in the back of my head. And also I feel like I just put some extra pressure on myself because my girlfriend, my girlfriend's mom, and my aunt were there, and first time any of them had seen me run internationally. So I really wanted to just personally step my game up and hopefully put a show on and make it a fun race, and obviously hopefully win. And I was really nervous the morning of. I remember I threw up a little bit the morning of, which I had never done before. And so yeah, I was like, oh boy, here we go. I really hope I'm not getting sick, which I wasn't. Thank goodness. I was just super nervous, and yeah, the race went off really slow. Some guy went out, I guess technically fast, but he does that every championship. So we just kind of let him go. And the plan was to every lap to just kind of slowly crank it up. There was three Australians behind me. They were hammering the crap out of me. I was getting clipped almost every stride, it seemed like. And then with about 500 meters to go, I really turned it up. And then it ended up being just me and one of the Aussies. And with 200 to go, I kind of laid a trap where I didn't want to lead the whole last 200 because you never want to be the hunted. You want to be the hunter for sure. And so he passed me 200 to go, and then I just sat on his shoulder and really digging deep with 80 to go. And I may have celebrated a little bit in the last 40 meters and lost my mind with definitely 20 meters to go.
How important as well was it to kind of book your spot to go back to Paris next year? Of course, with the victory, how exciting is it to get that done and know you're heading back to Paris in a year to defend that Paralympic title?
Yeah, no, it's super awesome. I always like doing a little test run in the area. It's just nice when you're more comfortable. Obviously, things would be a little bit easier because we'll be in the village. We were in a hotel and had to had to either walk or get a shuttle to the track every day. That wasn't always consistent. So I think the games, they'll be a little bit better. And but honestly, the meet was awesome. To be honest with you, it was. I mean, we had 10,000 fans in the stands a day, which is for people know for para track and field for para athletics that does not happen unless you're in London. So that was really cool to see, and yeah, I'm super excited to go defend my title. It was a way harder race than in the past. So that's super exciting. It means that the sport's evolving, and I think when someone breaks a barrier, like when I broke 350, I'm sure 5 or 6 guys were like, "Well, I can do that." So now they're going to do that. So I think it always makes it fun when you see people just getting so much better.
And last time you and I spoke was a few months before Tokyo. And we spoke about how the games have been obviously postponed and how that's kind of affecting your preparation for those games. Looking back, what do you remember about the months leading up to Tokyo and maybe needing to get a bit creative with how you trained and how you prepared, I guess, for the games?
Yeah, no, I was like I'm in a very small percentage where I was super lucky. Being at the hub, I think you saw after that Tokyo games a lot of people moving to the hub just because there's just the resources are just unbelievable. And luckily my coach is, the hub coach. So things were a bit easier. We did have to get a little creative with the weight room. We just had some weights on the infield. So some of that stuff was a little bit creative because my weight program's different from all of my teammates just because I do a lot of balance work and not a lot of heavy lifting. I do some heavy lifting, but just not very often. A lot of med ball throws. So I think I don't have I just can't get a bar and do my lift. There's a lot of little things that I need. So that was pretty challenging. And there was a point in time where I couldn't see my coach for a couple of weeks, and we really had to follow that because she is, Athletics Canada affiliated. It's not like she's just, a coach for a club. So that made that a little harder. But like if you look at the build up as in like how I felt in Tokyo, I felt way better. I had no tightness in my hamstring, no like hiccups come up. But I think it's almost more fun when it does those things come up. Obviously, I won, so maybe you can say that's why I say that. But I think you just learn more about yourself.
And the race itself in Tokyo, I think it's fair to say you were in control of it for quite a bit of it. You lowered the Paralympic record by 15 seconds, I believe, and had a pretty good gap, I guess, as you reached the finish line. What were your tactics going in, and how did that race maybe compare to your expectations going in?
Yeah, it didn't go to my expectations at all. Dion Kenzie from Australia had just run really close to me time wise, and I planned between 800 and 600 to make a big move. And honestly, I think I just caught them by surprise. A lot of times people say they're going to do things, and then the nerves get to them, or the big lights come on, and you just don't do it. It's really hard to actually execute on that day, performance on demand, and I kind of did what I said I was going to do, and I think they just didn't think that. And then it seemed like they all kind of ran for second place because I had a pretty big gap, and to go and catch me at that point, they would have had to burn a lot of energy. So I think they were kind of playing that game for second and third. But I don't know if the viewer like realized it or noticed it. I kept looking up at the screen because I just couldn't believe it. I was like, how am I? And I didn't run it. Like the first lap was 64, and I just said, I'm going to run another 64. And I ran another 64, and there was no one around. And so, yeah, I was just so shocked. Like, what is going on? Why is no one with me? And there was two or three guys that could have been with me. So I think like I spent a lap being like, what is going on? And I just had to snap myself out of that. Like, Nate, you got to win a race. Like, go and take this to them.
And you are of course a world record holder in that event and got close to it in Tokyo. Had the weather been better, do you think the world record might have been in play?
I'm not sure. I think if I ran harder, maybe it would have been in play. I definitely celebrated the last lap, probably a bit more than I should have. But I don't know. For me, it's like I've said I want to set the world record at the Paralympic Games, but like I'm not super bummed if I don't. I hope that makes sense. Like at the end of the day, like I'm not a good time trialer. I'm not. I believe I'm a good racer. I've been like, all right, you need to get top three or you need to win. Like those are the races I'm better at. So yeah, I try. I obviously say I want to do that, and I really do. But I'm not bummed if it doesn't happen. But I think it's going to take a pretty special performance to win in Paris this next year.
And when the medal's being presented to you, you step onto the podium, receive that medal, hear the anthem. What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, it was, I mean, so surreal. I mean, I think, Worlds is really cool when you do that, but just the games is just so different. And I can't imagine how it will be with fans in the stands. I can't, yeah, I'm sure it'll be so surreal. And I thought I would be thinking of all the hard work that I put in. Uh, that entire time that the anthem was going. But honestly, I just thought about all the people that made sacrifices for me, like my coach, my mom, my entire team, and that's where my emotion came from. And at the end of the day, like other than serving your country in war, there's no better feeling, in my opinion, than representing your country and finishing on top. And so that's something that's I'm very prideful of, and I just feel so lucky.
You mentioned the no fans in the stands. How different do you think that's going to be in Paris? Mentioned having your family and your support team, there to watch you compete.
Yeah, I definitely believe that I'm better when the lights are on. But at the end of the day, like a lot of people just say they go like they don't hear anything when they race. I definitely hear my mother when I race. She's very, very loud. I heard her a couple of times during my race in Paris. I think it'll just get people more amped, and just more eyes on the sport. At the end of the day, I think that was the only disappointing thing about Tokyo, to be honest with you. Like I've gotten more texts, more social media shout outs from Paris than I did from Tokyo. Which is, in Paralympic Games is so much bigger than the actual world championships is. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what that looks like. And I heard it's gonna be almost sold out almost every day, which will be super, super cool. And hopefully I can go run to my family again. And after hopefully I win.
If I'm not mistaken, you also currently hold the world records in the 800 and the 5,000 meters. Is it frustrating at all to you that those events aren't on the Paralympic program? And or have you thought about running the four? Like, what are your kind of thoughts on those?
Yeah, so I actually just lost the 5K earlier this year, but I still have the eight. I just broke the eight the other day. But frustration, I don't know if that's the correct word. I would love it if they would put it in, especially the eight. The eight, not necessarily the 5K. I don't really like the 5K at all. It's a long time to be running. I thought about doing the four, as you probably know. Zach is one of my best friends and was my roommate for 3 years, and he runs the four. And I feel like he's doing his job down there, so I don't really feel like I have to go down and run that. But I know all of the para boys want to go run a 400 at nationals next year, possibly, and just. I mean, we have about 8 guys who run like 50 points, so I think it would be really fun if we could just line up and have all of us race and maybe get some prize money, find a sponsor that'll throw some cash our way.
That sounds awesome. Turning the page a little bit, about a week ago, the Canadian national trials were taking place in Langley, and your younger brother, Max, came away with the win in the men's under 20 decathlon. What was that experience like for you, watching him compete and being there to sort of soak it all in with him?
Yeah, it was so weird almost to be there for two reasons. Like I was obviously there to compete, but on my personal side, it more seemed like I was there to like take pictures with people and sign autographs and just like talk to people about Paris. My race was important to me, but at the end of the day, like I already accomplished everything that I wanted to that year. And so honestly, I was really there for Max. We were in Victoria the week before, prepping, and that's what he wanted to do. And so I wanted to fly home, but he's like, "Let's go to Victoria." I'm like, "Perfect, let's do that." And so he had great prep, and I knew there was a good chance he was going to win. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that. Yeah, and it was really long days, but it was really cool. He's such a track nerd, and so it was really cool to see how pumped he was. He got to meet Damian Warner. Damian Warner, I wouldn't call him like a friend. Like I wish Damian Warner was a friend of mine, but I think we just mutually respect each other a lot. And so he was throwing discs, and he saw me, and he kind of waved, and then came over and said hi to Max because Damian knows how much Max means to me. So that was really cool. And I think I told my coach Heather, I peaked as a brother. There's no way I will ever be any cooler. Doesn't matter how many medals I win. I got to introduce him to Dan Warner and Pierce Lepage. So I think I think I'm done as a brother now. But and then just to see him win and in the 1500 was pretty awesome. It's always poetic to see him finish with the 15 and just absolutely crush it. And of course, he did his screaming at the end. as my family does. I have three other siblings on my mom's side, and she posted a picture of us literally doing the same celebration every time we win. So that was pretty funny. And then I think the coolest thing for me was to hear the recount from him. It's one thing to watch it and like, oh, I think he didn't do good there. I think he did really good there. But to really hear his feedback was super cool. And honestly, his post on social media, he gave me a lot of credit. I don't think I deserve that credit, but it's always cool when someone who means so much to you tells you how much your hard work towards them has meant.
I wish my brother introduced me to Damian Warner. Your family, for those who listening may don't know, as you kind of mentioned there, have an incredible history in sports. Both parents were elite athletes. Grandfather played 300 games in the NHL. Your cousin competed at two Olympics. What kind of lessons and experiences have you been able to take from them? And at the same time, how important is it to you to be able to write your own story?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think on one hand, they taught me how to work hard, but I didn't actually have to tell me. I got to see it every day. I think that was really cool. And the one thing that I think has benefited me the most in my career is to win the day, get up early and really go at it. Don't wait till 4 o'clock in the afternoon to go and get your training in. And so I think that's one thing that I really have benefited from throughout my career. And anyone who knew me younger and my life knew that I always said I wanted to be different. I didn't think I was going to get head and head with the golf ball, and that actual twist or pivot would have been done for me, but it certainly was. And I'm just really happy that I have paved my own path. And I think that's the way that Max feels as well, because, I thought he would not like everyone saying, "Oh, you're Nate's brother," but I don't know. He just loves it. He thinks it's awesome, which is really cool. And I'm happy he's paving his own path. And I think you never want to be in someone's shadow, but we're also so proud of each other. So it's not like we're like if Max gets more medals than me, I'm not going to be like, "Oh, I can't believe you did that." Like I'll be super pumped, and I mean, sure, I'll give him some banter at the table to let him know that I have a Paralympic gold medal and he only has a national title. But that's just kind of how our family is.
And I remember last time we spoke, you mentioned, you didn't know wasn't normal that people's parents didn't get up at 5 in the morning to do wind sprints in the street outside. How much of, you mentioned, seeing it rather than being told you need to work hard. How much does something like that, and being from an environment where hard work is around you all the time, how's that kind of helped you, I guess, as an athlete?
Yeah, so like just competition is just something we do in our family. It's like it's okay to fail in our family. Like people would think that, oh, like you must get absolutely chewed at. And like, no, not really. If you run really bad and you give up, yes, you get your butt chewed out 100%. But if you give it everything you have and you fail, it's fine. And I think we learned to fail in a very safe environment, which was really beneficial because I'm like, oh, I can fail, but winning's way more fun. So why don't I just go out there and try my best to win? And if I fail, I fail. And we're just, yeah, like I said, we're so competitive, like anything, like push-ups in the middle of a football game or playing cornhole outside. You better believe we make a trophy and that person gloats for the whole entire year about how they won the cornhole tournament. So I think we just try and make it as fun as possible. But I think if you just get used to competing in everything that you do, I think it just becomes a habit. And I think that's one thing that you've really seen in my family, and one thing my parents have done such a great job of.
And I'd also like to ask you a bit about the things you do off the track as well. You mentioned the incident with the golf ball, and I know one thing you've been striving to do for years is help other people with traumatic brain injuries. Can you maybe speak a bit about that and some of the things you've been doing off the track, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love to get some sponsors on board with this, but I just really want to be an advocate and a spokesperson for invisible disabilities, TBI, PTSD, and mental health. I think it's sometimes those can be the most debilitating injuries, and I'm not saying that those are worse than a blade or getting amputated or being blind, but I think sometimes when people don't see those things, they just think you're completely quote unquote normal. And sometimes when people don't know what you're going through those, that's the hardest things. And for me, I didn't have a kid growing up or someone to look up to that had a TBI. And I just moved kind of awkwardly and I stuttered really bad, and just kind of no one I saw in my uh, around me was that. And so I just hope that I can motivate and inspire that next generation of Paralympic athletes. And honestly, it doesn't just have to be Paralympic athletes because I'm happy to anyone who I can inspire. I'm totally game. And I know there's been this kind of talk with Paralympic athletes saying like, oh, like inspiration. Like I don't want to be inspirational. And for me, like I think my story can be inspirational. Me running fast probably isn't that inspirational, but I think the overcoming of obstacles, no matter who you are, is inspiring, and I don't think that's a bad thing. And so maybe I'm on the ladder on that one. Maybe I'm on an island by myself, but that's something that I truly believe in. And if you're not trying to leave the next generation better off than what I had, like what are we doing?
And I know you had a pretty cool encounter with a young man from Norway who looked up to you when you were in Dubai and had a chance to race against him. What was that experience like meeting and racing against him?
Yeah, he's a great kid. He's awesome. So I want to say it was 5 years ago. He had messaged me and just said, "Nate, you're so inspiring to me, and I would love to meet you someday." And I think maybe he thought that I wouldn't message back, and I sent him a very long message back and just kind of encouraging him to really work hard and paying attention to the little things. That's usually what I talk about to those younger athletes. And I honestly didn't think I would ever race him because he was so young, and I didn't know how long I would be actually in the sport. And I was sitting down with one of my teammates, Tom Normando, who's one of my best friends, and we're going through the heat sheets, and I was like, this guy from Norway, that name is super, super familiar. And then I looked up, like, oh crap, that's the kid that messaged me 5 years ago. So I DM'd him, said, hey man, you want to go for a shakeout together the day before the race? He's like, oh, that would be so awesome. So we shook out and just kind of chatted. And then I actually saw him again at the World Championships, and unfortunately, he didn't have the race he really wanted to, and he actually like kind of embraced me after the race and got cried a little bit, and just I just once again just encouraged him and told him, I mean, how many times I finished. I don't think he finished last, but how many times I finished last place in a race in conference championship in college, I finished last almost every time. And so just to let him know that, hey, your time's around the corner. I mean, he's like 18 years old or 17. So, I mean, he'll be back. I'm sure he'll be crushing it super soon. He's super passionate about the sport, which is, I think, one thing that attracts me to him is that he's just so positive and just seems to love the sport. And I'm sure he'll be a friend for the rest of my life.
And how important as well is that sort of butterfly effect that'll come from that, like he'll maybe inspire the next generation after him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the big point, right? Is just it doesn't matter about me. It's about us just making the sport better, and just putting a spotlight on things that we want to change. Sure, we want to make more money this year at nationals. I don't know how many people, but there was a prize money for the para team based on their performance on the scoring system, and that's the first time that I know of that we've gotten paid for nationals, which is awesome because AC can't pay for, or they don't pay for anything for our travel or our accommodations. So that's huge. That's almost, paying for our trip and maybe a little extra left over for our training. So I think really advocating for those things. And, I think sometimes for athletes, we can really go at people for not supporting us. But I think when people do support us, it's really important to also shed light on that because yes, I think it's $1,500 or $1,250. It might not seem a lot to a lot of people, but we got to start somewhere, and we're getting money, and that's, I mean, probably about $25,000 if you put all of the whoever gets paid. I think it's $25,000 purse. That's a lot of money, and so I think, and if they see the kickback, then I think that'll just continue to grow, and so I'm super proud that we're trying to see waves there, and yeah, I feel super lucky to be part of it.
There's about 12 months now until Paris 2024 comes back around. What does your schedule and training plans look like in the coming months as we inch closer and closer again to heading back to France?
Oh man, it's crazy. Yeah, it's gonna be absolutely insane. I split my time pretty close to 50-50 between Victoria and Georgia. And I'm sure I'll be in Victoria a lot more this year. I just moved my girlfriend into law school the other day, so she's going to be very busy. And so, yeah, I'm sure I'll be up there quite a bit. I know we'll go to St. Moritz, Switzerland, and Barcelona, Spain prior to the championships. I always go to Flagstaff every year in April. And so those are kind of the big trips for me. I want to do the Canadian tour almost strictly. I'll do maybe one race in California, but I really love the Canadian tour. They treat the athletes so well. Chris Winter at Athletics Canada has been killing it. So I'm really happy to really go there and hopefully show other para athletes that you don't have to go to the U.S. to to compete. Stay in the country, and let's try and run fast and really build this tour.
Are you heading down to Santiago for the Parapanims?
I am not. It's not. I wouldn't call it a development for para athletics. I think they're taking people who don't have as much experience, and so for me, it just didn't make sense. And it is right in the middle of American Thanksgiving. And I'm sure you've gathered my family means a lot to me. And so if I don't have to, that's something that I would prefer not to miss. And also, there's World Championships in Kobe, Japan in May, which is crazy that we have a World and a Paralympics in the same year. And I'll be going to that. So I think I had to pick up two out of the three to go to. I don't think going to all three would benefit me. So I decided to unfortunately forego that and not get any of that sweet Lululemon gear. But I'll be going to Kobe and Paris.
And does there being just 3 years between Tokyo and Paris affect how you prepare at all? Like I know some athletes are big on the 4 year cycle, and obviously last time it was 5 years, now it's 3 years. Does that sort of affect your preparation at all?
I think Para was a little lucky because we didn't have a World Championships that first year after Tokyo, so we got technically a down year. Like, I ran my best I've ever run, but like honestly, like I was having fun with my girlfriend, going out with her on the weekends, spending time with family, and so I almost felt like I got like a mental break from the whole year. And I think able-bodied athletes have had World Championships every year leading into the Olympics and on the other side as well. So I think for them, it might be a bit tougher. For me, it's fine. But I've also been doing this for, I mean, like 18 years. So I feel like I've kind of figured out what works for me. I'm still learning for sure, but I kind of just stick, with what works for me. And I have the same coach, the last 5 years, which just makes it easier. You just kind of just slowly, tinkering with things. But no, for me, it's great. And I actually kind of like that it's soon.
And coming into Paris, what lessons are you maybe taking from Tokyo and sort of applying to this next your second time going around?
Definitely going to know that nerves are going to come. And World Championship in 2019, I had no nerves. I was dancing, singing before the race. I'm a horrible dancer and a singer. But for some reason in Tokyo, I got so nervous. I think it was like the realization that everything I've ever dreamed of was on the line. And unfortunately, I just never dreamed of winning a world championship. It just wasn't something that was on my mind. But obviously the games was. And so I think just being there and doing it, there's something trying to do it, is way harder, because you just don't know what it feels like to be there. And you get nervous. Sometimes you find yourself like looking at other people, see how they're warming up, and like, who cares how they warm up? Like, do your own thing. And so I think just all that smoke, the smoke and mirrors and all that stuff, you just like forget about. And I think being it your first time, you just are so like, it's so cool. And so for me, to just make sure that I don't go into that same mindset. And as well as at the end, I want to enjoy it. Like I want to spend a couple of days in Paris and then hopefully a week over there after and just enjoy it. Because I think that's something us athletes are horrible at is actually enjoying it. Sure, we talk about enjoying the process all the time, but what we go out for a dinner, I go out for a coffee, and we're like, "Woo, yeah, we're really living on the edge." We just got out of our hotel and got a coffee. So I just really want to enjoy it. Go do some sightseeing after the race, spend some time with my partner and my family, and so I think that's another thing that I want to do a better job as well.
I won't ask you to sing or dance here on the show, but just to end things off, let's have a bit of fun with a classic rapid fire round. 5 questions, just give me whatever comes to your mind. Okay,
Perfect.
awesome. Number one is which other Canadian athlete or athletes do you enjoy watching and cheering for at the moment?
Marissa Paps is would be the one that first comes to mind.
If you could try any other sport that you've never tried before, which one would it be?
Wheelchair basketball.
You're a British Columbia guy, as you mentioned. What's one place everyone listening to has to go to if they visit or live in BC?
Victoria, British Columbia. Definitely.
Let's say you're having a nice relaxing night, just gonna kick back and put on the TV. What movie or show are you putting on?
Lincoln Lawyer.
And finally, you're obviously a middle distance guy, but would you rather compete in the 100 or the marathon?
Oh, 100, no doubt. If I was fast enough to do the 100, you can bet my butt would be in there.
All right, Nate, it's been a pleasure speaking to you as always, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks again to Nate for joining the show, and thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to check out past episodes of the show as well, including conversations with Stephen Brunt, Devin Haru, Christine Girard, Byron McDonald, and so much more. If you enjoyed the show and want to be the first person to listen to future shows and read all of my written content as well, subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts or at truenorthsports.substack.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at truenorth_sport and on Instagram and TikTok at truenorthsport. I've been your host, Benedict Rhodes. Thank you so much for listening.